So, sir, before we go on, we already know you, but we still want you, sir, to tell us about yourself and the Synod for 2024. Thank you, sir.
I'm Olubunmi A Akinlade, by divine permission, Diocesan Bishop of Ife. And we thank God for this year's Synod. And the theme we have chosen this year is building godly investment for the 21st century church. This, by the practice of the Anglican Church, is the beginning of a Synod year. Synod year contains 3 years because there will be the first session, the second session, and the third session. So we are starting a new Synod year, the first session. And how is this different from all the other Synod years? At this first session, we elect new officers for the diocese. So, and we will serve for the 3 years until another Synod year is starting. This is the first session of the 12th Synod of this diocese. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Can you tell us the dates for the Synod, the venue? You have briefly talked about the theme. We'll still come back to that, and then tell us about the date and time and venue.
Okay, the dates are Saturday 27th. That is the main day where we have the opening service, the opening ceremonies. We will have the election of officers. The reports will be presented and accepted, and resolutions will be passed. That will be on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we shall have the Thanksgiving. All these events will take place at the Cathedral Church of St. Philip's, Ayetoro, Ife. On Saturday, it starts from 7 o'clock for the service, but the opening ceremonies is at 10 o'clock. And every other thing just follows immediately after that. On Sunday for the Thanksgiving, the time of the service is 10 o'clock in the morning at the cathedral at Ayetoro. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So you are saying that we have just 2 days for the Synod?
Yes, we had 2 days for the Synod. What happened was that before COVID, we used to have 4 days, and the spread out of the 4 days is like this. Day 1, which is usually a Thursday, we have just the opening service in the evening. And then day 2, we'll have the opening ceremonies, and after the opening ceremonies, the various committees will go and discuss the reports. On Saturday, we come back again, we give them time after another service, we give them time to discuss the reports, and then we move into the plenary, which takes the remaining portion of Saturday, and then we close the Synod, and then Sunday is Thanksgiving. But during COVID, because of the situation of the times, we had to compress Thursday, Friday, Saturday into one day, and we chose to do it on a Saturday. And it went very well. And afterwards, people came to me and said, Lord Bishop, what is it that we are doing in these 3 days that we have not done in this one day? Can we just do it this one? Moreover, being a Saturday means more people can attend because they don't have to go to work on Saturday. So we put the proposal to the Diocesan Board, and it was passed. And subsequently afterwards, we've been having it Saturday and Sunday. And it has been a good experience because it is also cost saving for us, because the amount of money that churches will have had to spend to sponsor their delegates to Synod was drastically reduced as a result of this. Thank you.
So in terms of program, nothing is lost?
Nothing is lost. Nothing is lost. The time that is lost is the time that is used to discuss the reports. But what we have done is to become proactive. At least 1 or 2 weeks before the synod, all the reports will be sent to the various committees, the chairman, the secretaries. And they have the list of their committee members. And we expect them to meet via WhatsApp or Zoom, in short, to use technology to meet and to discuss ahead of time, so that the little time allocated to them during the synod for discussion will just be used to wrap up their report so as to be able to present it at plenary. And it has worked effectively. Actually, the issue is this: we need to be proactive in everything we do, because the world is moving so fast, and we cannot run away from the use of technology in whatever we do. Thank you.
It's quite ingenious to have been able to do that, you know. It means nothing is really lost, because people will have had enough time to look at the reports, even more than they would have had if they had been there on Saturday to discuss it.
One other thing is that since we started this, at least 3 other dioceses have come to understudy what we are doing, and they are now doing it that way because they found it to be more cost effective. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So why did you choose this thing for the synod?
Yes.
Building godly investment in the 21st century.
Okay. Last year, August, the prayer fellowship of the province of Ibadan had given me an assignment to present a paper at the prayer convocation at Akinlade University, and the topic was similar to this. And it was while preparing for that paper that it began to speak to me that this is a topic that should be discussed in much larger forums. Because when you look at our dioceses, our archdeaconries, and our parishes, a lot of investment that have been done have died. A lot of money have been wasted. Most of the investments that we get into, they don't last. They may last while the man who started it is there, but you know, they move us around so fast. The moment he's gone, the investments tend to go with him. Even at the diocesan level, a bishop, for instance, may start a farm. The farm may thrive while he's there. The next bishop after him may not be interested in farming, and it goes. The key thing is manpower to manage those investments. Is not really skilled manpower, is not really available. So what kind of investment is ideal that churches, dioceses, parishes, archdeaconries should get involved in that can stand the test of time? That is what we are looking at to discuss, so that people can be educated and learn from it. And we hope that it won't just be for Ife diocese. We hope the message can go out all over the country.
Yes, sir. Why do we need investment as a church?
Okay. The saying goes, fail to plan, plan to fail. And the root of that saying is from the story of Jacob. After he served Laban for many years, it suddenly dawned on him that he now has a large family, and he has not been providing for them. He has been focused on Laban's thing. And he made that statement there that, when will I start providing for my family? Basically, I need to start planning for the future of my family. Churches too need to plan for the future of the church. So in that regards, we need investment, but we must not get it wrong. we tend to get it wrong when we make investment the focus of the church. When we make investment the focus of the church, then we've missed it, because our job is to win souls. Investment is just a side thing that we do, means of generating a little bit more income to run the affairs of the kingdom. Now, you will find that one of the things which I emphasize in the charge is the fact that there are certain types of investment that the church should be mindful of. Any investment we do that doesn't touch lives of people, you will find out that most of the time it falls to the ground. I like the CMS when they came, because you need to go back and look at how did these people do it? How were they able to do their own evangelism? How did they fund the evangelism and everything they did? You found that they came from Europe and they came with some money. But one of the things that made their evangelism to be effective was that they established schools. They established hospitals. They did things that touched the life of the people. Those were the kind of investment they did. The result of those investments came in later years, not immediately, because the children of the people that went to that school came back. Those children came back when they became adults to support the church. So it helps the church. We've had so many situations where people will come that, even though they are not members of this church again, they will say, it was this church that gave me opportunity to go to school. So I cannot forget this church. I will always come back to plow money back into it. So it's a pity that focus has been taken away from people-oriented investment to just money, 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 money. And I give you an example of a church that has money investment. There's a church on Wall Street in the United States of America. Wall Street is the financial capital of the world. That church has been there for so long. Most of the land on which the Wall Street is built, on that street, is owned by that church. And there are a lot of high-rise buildings, corporation and everything. So the rental income and everything they get from their investment in that place is a lot of money, running into millions of dollars every year. Now, this church has a lot of money, and they share the money all over different churches worldwide. But they don't have people. They don't have a congregation. So they can afford to close the door of their church and still be having money to share all over the world. But that is not the essence of having a church. A church must have people. The moment your focus is not on the people and the focus is on the money, that church is dead. That's why we need to also be very careful about the investments we are doing. You said we should do farming. Who are you going to put there? Priests, whose job is to win souls, will be going to the farm every day to till the land and everything. Now, I know bishops who run farms who go to the farm every day. Sometimes I wonder, what time do they have to administer their dioceses itself? In Ife here, we have the Oyere farmland, which the previous Oni of Ife, Oba Okunade Shijuade, gave. The diocese even rented it out to people to farm on it and pay commission to us. To get the money, the rental income, is a problem. Since I came here about 8 years ago, I only know of once when we got a bulk sort of money. And that once was just as I was coming, and my predecessor used the legal officers to chase them about the whole place and threatened to kick them out of the land. Then we got bulk sums of money in. After that, nothing, next to nothing has come in. It has always been one story or the other. Somebody like me, I don't even know where the land is, because I can't be going to chase people about in the bush. When I go to the villages, I go to the churches we have there, not to the farmland we have there. Skilled manpower is a problem. The diocese, for instance, invested in block industry. When we were running it as a small-scale business, we were okay, because then we put our machines somewhere. Anytime we need to make block, we go there, we make the blocks, and we shut it down again. Then we thought, why don't we push it out and make it a permanent business that is generating streams of income? We invested more money. We put a priest there. Today, he ran the business down. The business has shut down completely. We are now looking for people who are ready to take our equipment, use it, and pay us commission for using our equipment. We have the land, the space to use and everything. That's what we are looking for now. I can tell you countless number of stories from different dioceses where investment they made, even in pure water business. I know of a bishop, his predecessor invested in water business. And we thought, this was a very viable business. When his successor came, he told me, he said it to me in Yoruba, he said, Agbanoni, it means he's just spending money, he's not making money from it. He had to shut it down. And so many stories like that. The point is this. I found out in my research, there's a big difference between entrepreneurial investment and corporate investment. That's the layman way in which I put it. Entrepreneurial investments are investments that are better suited for individuals. It's your baby. It's your dream. You are focused on it. So you face it squarely and you do it on your own and you continue doing it for the rest of your life. And you know that most of the time, by the time that person passes on to glory, that investment will tend to pass on. Unless in rare cases where he has been able to get some of his children interested in it and it continues. But the corporate investment, one of the easiest corporate investment is investing in the money market. You take the few naira you have, you put it in fixed deposit or treasury bill, or you go to the capital market and invest it in stocks and bonds, and you get immediate returns on investment, which you can use to run your business, and you continue like that. That type of investment tend to last because it can go from one generation to another generation, from one bishop to another bishop, from one priest to another priest, and it continues like that as long as they keep turning the cycle around. But the ones that are better suited to individuals, they tend not to last long. And so much money has been thrown away by the church in the name of investment. So the whole idea is to try and get people to begin to think, because everybody today, it is piggery that is selling. Let's get some money and go and do piggery. It is pure water that is selling. It is bakery that is selling. I want people to begin to think twice. Do you have the manpower that can run the place and sustain it even beyond you when you are no longer there? Those are things. Or are you planning for it for only when you are there? Now maybe when you are going, you sell it off or you shut it down. You have to plan it very well, what you want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So which kinds of businesses are suitable for the church or corporate organizations?
I said it earlier on. For a church, any investment that does not touch people's life is not going to grow the church. And I gave you the example of the CMS.
Schools and hospitals, you mentioned.
They built schools. They built hospitals. In short, everything they did was to touch the lives of the people they were ministering to. A friend of mine, he was posted to a church in Yewa, in a village. When he got to the place, half of the roof of the church had been blown off. First Sunday, there were 2 or 3 old women in service. And he was wondering what he was doing. And he was a Lagos boy, because he wasn't a full-time priest. He was wondering what he was doing in here. And then it occurred to him, what can I do to impact the life of these villagers? What need do they have? As he was going around, he discovered that they don't have water. Water was a big problem for that village. So he went back to his friends in Lagos and rallied around them to raise enough funds to sink a borehole in the middle of the town, not just for the church, for the entire community. The borehole was commissioned on a Saturday, and the whole village came out from the commissioning and everything. So after doing that on Sunday, he thought he was coming back to his normal 2 or 3 agara. But the church was packed full, even though the roof was blown. Even the KBAC came to church that Sunday. I mean, he's been offering services in that place, they never came. But because he touched their lives, they all rushed there on a Sunday. We should be mindful of what touches people like. I know of another pastor. It was posted to a church, of course, of your rural community. They didn't have light. They don't have any means of livelihood. There were a lot of young people there who really didn't have much to do. He looked at it. Then he decided to raise some money. He raised some money. He bought a small generator. He bought a small cassette player, video recorder, and a small TV. Every evening, around 8 p.m. when it is dark, he will put the TV in front of the vicarage. He will slot a Christian film. He will play it. The film will last for 1 hour, 2 hours. He will play it. Afterwards, he will minister to them for another 15, 20 minutes. And that was how he was able to get people back into the church. He touched lives. He touched lives. Any investment that doesn't touch lives of the people, to me, is a waste of time. Since I've experienced it here as well. The other type of investment that churches can also do, I've said it, is the money market. Because that one, you simply take your money, you put it on fixed deposit, you put it on treasury bill, you get a commission on it. And even to go to the capital market now, if you don't have a skilled broker who is honest, you will just lose money. Because gone are the days when you buy the shares of Coca-Cola, you go and frame the certificate and say, I have Coca-Cola shares. The world has changed. What is now being done is what we call active trading. You simply give your broker a sum of money. Take this, trade with it for 6 months and let me have returns. What he buys with that money is none of your business. The important thing is that you gave him X amount of money, he gave you X plus Y back. And then you look at it, then you can go back to it. Because it's a bit of gambling. Because sometimes he may make a loss. So it's a bit of gambling. But that's why I said you need a trusted hand who will not play games with you, because he can do the trading and make money for himself and declare loss to you. So you have all those ones. So it shouldn't be all about investment. You should be careful at the kind of investment you do. But if you want to invest in what touches life. I call it social investments. Invest in what touches people's lives. And those are the kind of things that matter. Of course, I also spoke about the fact that God has already provided for His church how to fund it in Scripture. But oftentimes we ignore the Word of God and we go about devising our own means of funding the work of God. And they usually fall flat. But Scripture is there, it's very clear how God wants His church to be funded. For instance, He spoke in 1 Corinthians or 2 Corinthians 16, says on the first day of the week, let everybody set something aside for the work of God. It's planning. But what do we have? Suddenly, during the church service, they say, it's time for offering. And as the offering bag is going, it gets to your side, you just throw your hand into your pocket, and whatever you see, you bring out, you drop it in. Sometimes when you see big money and you mistakenly drop big money out, you quickly put it back and look for other smaller denominations and put it there. But in that statement, it says, according to your ability. So the man who is giving 20 naira or 50 naira is 50 naira according to his ability. I have conducted a test several times to people. I'll get into a forum and I say, how many of you can afford to give God 1,000 naira a month? Many people will say, they raise up their hand. I say, are you sure? They say, yes. So then ask them, how much do you give as offering on Sundays? 20 naira? 50 naira? 5 naira? I said, if you can afford to give God 1,000 naira a month, your offering on Sunday will not be less than 200 naira. Then he hits people. I said, if we follow that principle, some of you seated here should be giving 10,000, 20,000 every Sunday. Because you can afford to give God 100,000, 200,000 a month. Based on the amount you are getting. Based on your capabilities itself. I say, yes, it's possible. It's just, but you see, you should have planned it. It shouldn't be an afterthought itself. And while some latched onto it and changed from there, others just continued the way they are doing it. I mean, this thing has hit me long ago, even before I became a priest. We were preparing for New Year's Thanksgiving in my family church. And the vicar may announce, you should come and thank God that you see the new year. It's a special service. You give thanks to God and everything. He has said a lot about it. Then the day came. The church was packed full. When I say packed full, you're talking of over 700 people inside the church. The Thanksgiving dance was something else. We spent a lot of time dancing. And then we took the offering. And I was very curious, so I went to find out how much did we make. They said 22,000. I was shocked because I was aware of somebody who dropped 15,000. So 700 of us minus one only gave 7,000 naira. Plus all the dancing and all the noise. Then I looked outside. The sun that was hitting those brand new cars that were new and posh cars, was a lot. And I said, is it that God did not bless them? God bless them. Now they were stylish cars all over the whole place. But you see, we are so used to just drop something there. I've witnessed a family friend whose mother turned, I think 70 or 80, I can't remember. And they were going to celebrate it. And on that day, when we went forward for Thanksgiving, I was a friend to them. I had my own money in my hand. And I saw what the daughter of the woman dropped. She picked these 20 naira notes like this and dropped it in the bowl. I said, your mother turned 70. You've come to give thanks. And all you could give to God was 20 naira notes. I calculated the dress she wore because they took Ashwebi. It was over 200,000. I knew the venue they took. I know the millions they spent on reception of people. Countless of so many other things. And all you can do to give thanks to God that your mother turned 70 was 20 naira. It's just so bad, the attitude we have towards the things of God. But again, on the other side, some of our brothers have overemphasized the money to the point whereby people have been badly cheated. The pastor is driving a choice vehicle bought from the proceeds of the church, and the members are living in penury. Sometimes matching these two, it's a big problem. It's a big problem. So, there we are.
Yes, my Lord. Is it no fact that our priests are not trained to be business manager?
Yes.
What's your view about inclusion of business management or anything that has to do with management of business in the curriculum, knowing for the fact that whether they like it or not, in one way or the other, they will have issue to do with investments in their ministry?
Thank you. You see, when I became a bishop, we went for bishop's training in Kenya. And one of the plenary sessions, the guy from Australia who came to lead the training said, well, there's an issue he wants us to discuss because it's an issue that was bothering him. He said, most of our seminaries are dying. No money to fund it, no proper funding, all sort of issue has coming up. What can we do? And we looked at it. And one of the conclusions we came up with is the fact that the people who run the seminaries are pastors. They are not trained administrators. They are not trained business managers. But they are running an organization. So what do we do? It is at that point that we had different views on how to approach it. Some of us were like, can we employ seasoned administrators to run this business? Take the priestly duty of it. Bring a priest to manage that aspect. But the administration of the place, can you get a qualified administrator to run it? Those who are seasoned pastors, they kicked against it and said, no, you should send those pastors for training in administration. I said, so you will hold the institution down for another 4 years to go train the man who will come and manage it. By the time he comes back, there's no institution to manage again. It's dead. So yes, if it had been included in the curriculum of the seminaries, management has been included in curriculum service, it will help us. Or our church is blessed. What do I mean by that? Most of these industries where you can get the requisite training for this, you have our members who are there. Can we send some of our priests for internship in those places, 6 months, 1 year? Let them go and work in the private sector. Let them work, because most of our priests have never worked in their life. Some of them from secondary school, they go to seminary, they become a priest, and that's it. What is the life experience that will help them in the ministry? So when you are talking about budgeting, financing, and all those things, they're looking at you. That priest can one day become a bishop. And even as a bishop, it's still the same problem. He won't know how to manage the diocese effectively. When I became a bishop, we went for one of our retreats, and the primates made an appeal to us for a project that they needed to get done, and they wanted dioceses to contribute to it. And the way it is that you'll be calling each diocese, how much are you pledging? And we all pledged different amounts. I was shocked when some of my colleagues suddenly put their hands into their pocket and brought the checkbook of their diocese out and signed a check and said, I've paid my own contribution now. I was shocked. The checkbook of your diocese in your pocket, you are carrying it about. Number one, it means somebody has signed it down. Blank checks has been signed down. It's very risky. And in some cases, when they write on the check, they don't write on the stop. So by the time the accountant or bossa is asking them later on, sir, this check, what is it for? He says, well, don't disturb me, Jerry. I didn't steal your money. It's church work I used it for. Go and write anything there. So accountability, because it's not his problem. Nobody has trained him on this. While we try to expose them to some of this training, the church has to be intentional to include this training as part of the curricula of the seminary, so that anybody who is a priest will be properly trained. When you look at the training of an Anglican priest and that of a Catholic priest, the difference is very clear. Before you become a Catholic priest, which takes 7 years, you've gone through all sorts of training, including international exposure. So by the time you are becoming a priest, you are already well seasoned, well groomed. But for us, the 3 years in the seminary is not enough, except for those who have worked before going into the seminary. And it always shows they always outperform their colleagues who didn't have the same exposure itself. When you see those who have worked, who have been exposed to life, it stands out because they bring that experience into the pastoral work. So those who are not lucky to have that experience, there is a need to do something to this itself. I pray one day we will get to that as a church.
So what is your vision for the diocese?
My vision for this diocese is to get this diocese to a level where it is self-sustaining. Let me use this word, where it can run on what I call autopilot, where it doesn't depend on anybody, including the bishop, to run. I once saw a book, I wasn't privileged to read it, but the title stuck in my head. I was still a priest there. And the title of the priest's book is The Irrelevant Pastor. But the synopsis that I read, it's about the fact that how you can run your parish in such a way that the pastor becomes almost irrelevant. Not totally irrelevant, but in short, everything does not have to depend on the pastor. And I've said this several times. I've seen that there's only 2 models we have in running churches. Model 1, the pastor does everything. If the pastor does not move, nothing moves. Anything the pastor does not support does not see the daylight. That's one model, and that's the most common model. It's as if the pastor is threatened. If anybody else in the church comes up with an idea, and the idea did not come from him, he feels threatened that, they want to take over my empire from me. No, he must not see the daylight. And there's the second model whereby the pastor empowers different people. You take care of this, you take care of this, you take care of this, and everything is working. Occasionally, and they always come back to give him feedback. When they give him something, say, okay, why don't you do this way, tweaks it this way, tweaks this one, and everything is running. Now, the test of these 2 models is when the pastor is posted out of that parish. For the model A, everything that the pastor has done drops, because he's no longer there to continue what he's doing. And people don't know what he's doing. They have always waited to watch him do something before they can. But the model B, when the pastor goes, it doesn't affect the church. The church is still thriving. And the new pastor comes, he sees that the church is thriving, and he can dive into it. But though sometimes, because of our system, the model B has problem. Because when you put a model A pastor in a parish that has been running in model B, there's a problem. The man is used to being the one who is in charge, who without him nothing happens. And he sees things happening. Usually what he does is to try and halt everything that is happening and say, it cannot happen again. I have come, I'm the one in charge now. And usually it creates friction. There will be friction and friction. And because he truly is the one in charge, eventually all those people are discouraged and they just leave. And they go back to status quo of model A. We've seen it happen so many times. My own view and vision is, by the time I leave this diocese, to leave it on autopilot, whereby it can function on its own, so that the pastor, the bishop, can focus on the core work of his ministry, not on some of the other things that we do that tends to take our attention away. If the diocese has been financially stabilized, then it takes his headache from him. He doesn't have debt to be running about looking at how to pay it. If people pay the assessment as and when due, then it's easy for him to pay salaries of the workers. If churches have been so settled in such a way that they run their programs well and everything, then the churches are moving on very well. My aim is to build an independent church whereby people focus on the core reason why we come together, which is to worship the living God. That the other side attractions won't be taking away all our attention and making us to lose focus. And I give you an example. Anybody can become a bishop in this church. So you go to a village, you see a young man who is doing extremely well in that village or rural settings. He's spirit-filled, he's doing evangelism. At that level, he's very comfortable. And then you make him a bishop and you take him into an urban area. And he gets there. He wants to do evangelism as he knows how to do it. He looks into the purse of the diocese. There is no money there. They are coming to tell him, Bishop, salary has not been paid for the past 4 months. How are we going to do it? He cracks his head. My God. Yes, he can pray and pray, but he still needs to find money. He doesn't have connection with people in big cities to go and cry to them and raise some money. Frustration sets in. The man who knows how to do it suddenly becomes as if he doesn't know how to do it again. There's so many examples of that in our church. So our system, as good as it is, it has its own faults. And the worst part of it is that the moment they make him a bishop, everybody moves away from him. They expect him to just know everything. The training we've spoken about earlier on is missing. Yes, we will go and do a 1 or 2 weeks bishop's training, but that doesn't take you far. You need specialized training that may last for months or years to really groom this man of God for the office. You can't make somebody the governor of a state today and leave him and just say he's now governor, so he goes. Before he goes for the first public outing, there are people who will train him and say, Your Excellency, sir, you are going for this thing. They will be serving dinner there. Sir, this is what is expected of you. You can't just be eating. No, this is how you hold the cosgary. As a matter of fact, we recommend you eat at home so that you may even avoid eating over there. Or you eat and meat hangs in your teeth and you do like this. That they teach him the basic etiquette. And so, even from his first outing, he appears sane and normal. You think all of them know it from birth. No. Somebody's responsibility is to make sure that our governor does not embarrass himself. The church does not have that. The bishop is exposed to ridicule, and people will be laughing at him, and it's not his fault. He doesn't know. He has not operated at this level before. So the church too has a responsibility to begin to look at how to place a lot of emphasis on training of his priests, from priest to bishop. Training at church level. The fact is that we have our members who are into all this training. They do it for corporate organization and they will be willing to do it free for us. But are we willing to engage them? Are we humble enough to sit under our members to train us in these aspects of life? Those are the issues that are there. And the Lord will help us as a church.
So
what's your vision for the youths of the diocese?
Ife has a lot of youths in the diocese and outside the diocese, because Ife is an environment where there are so many high institutions. I think like 5 or 7 when you look at Ife and Origbo and Ife Tedo area all in all. So we have the pool of them, but it's like, even though it's a transit camp, they come and they go itself. I spoke to one of the officials of the Church of Nigeria. We met at a function. And the discussion we had that night has really challenged me. He said his children, he has grown-up children because he's an elderly man. He said suddenly he saw some of their friends, and their friends said, and he asked them, "I've not been seeing you in church. You have gone," and they just smiled. So he said to them, "Tell me what exactly is going on." And in their discussions, they eventually opened up to him and said, one of the things you would do is that you just tell us what we are to do. You assume we don't have any common sense to think out what we can do. Our opinion does not matter to you. You just shove it down us. And I thought of it that, is that not what we do? That's what we do. And that is what chases these children away. There are a lot of things we do that chase them away. But that's one of the key things. We don't recognize their voice. We do the thinking for them and say, this is what you have to say. But these children, they are adults now. Out of respect, they may not say anything, but they will just quietly walk away. So we want to engage them, and we have actually started engaging them. So instead of us telling them, this is what you have to do, the paradigm has changed to, tell me, what exactly do you want to do? Sometimes when they tell you, you can be able to advise them better, on a better way to do it. But let the initiative come from them itself. And that's the way they can have ownership. For instance, our youth had their Easter retreat. I wasn't the one that told them to go and have the Easter retreat. They were the ones who came and said, look, we've been having this Easter retreat in time past. We want to have it. They planned it themselves. They sourced funds for it. I was quite shocked and impressed. They sourced funds for it. Yes, they came to me too to source some funds for me, which I have to find the money and cough it out for them. When I saw what they are doing, I just had to support their effort. And they ran the program, and it was successful. And when the day I went there, they said, look, we are short of money to run these things, and we need to raise funds. And I sat there, I was watching them, and they were calling themselves. And there and then, within themselves, they raised 300,000 that day. I was like, hey, these people are looking at their faces like this. These were young boys and girls. So it's time we begin to listen to them. We say they are the church of tomorrow. No, they are the church of today. So that is the one thing we want to do. Provide a platform where they can function. Engage them and listen to them. Tap from them for the benefits of the church. We have a lot of resources to tap from, and from these youths. They're extremely talented. We have been able to engage some of them. My own PA was one of the youth leaders then, and they came to interview me or something one time. Or first, that was it. Then, as Synod, he spoke. I said, this boy is very, very intelligent. And so I grabbed him. I said, you know what? Come and assist me here. today is thriving, is flourishing. The man on the camera is one of them. He spoke up. He saw what we were doing during the COVID, and he said, look, I can do this thing better because I know all this. I don't know him from Adam. I said, let him come and use his skills. And he came, and he started using his skills. It was then that I now even remember that somebody had given us all the equipment to run a studio that we park down there because we don't even know what to do with it. And he knows, and he's using it to the glory of God. We have them like that. They have them in parishes. I go to parishes, I see them on the computer manning the screens and doing all those stuff like that. We have to encourage, and I tell the priest, please encourage these people. And I found out that many of the churches, the priests are beginning to encourage them. There are still areas where there are challenges, but they are still beginning to encourage them. It is only when we encourage them and engage them that they can have a sense of belonging. I've said it openly several times. This idea of youth church is a brand eroder. What do I mean by that? It takes them away from us permanently. You say, let's start a youth church for them. They can't function well in the big church, so you go to youth church. Most of them who go to those youth church end up becoming pastors in other denominations. They don't integrate back into our system. As in recent times, I stumbled on the statistics, which was part of the research work of a friend of mine who is doing his master's in theology, in religious studies. I read one of his articles he wrote, and he cited a statistics which he discovered. And the statistics, he was writing about the impact of the new generation churches on the mainline churches. And the statistics says the new generation churches have taken at least 60% of our congregation members in the Anglican Church. But they've been only be able to take 10% from the Catholic Church. And I'm like, wow. So what are they doing in the Catholic Church that we are doing? And most of the time we believe we are more spiritual than them. So why is it that they easily were able to take from the Catholic Church and from us than from the Catholic Church? You know, those are the things that we need to begin to think of. So if we engage these youths properly, it's not a matter of putting them in one side. Give them room to function in the main church. Give them room to bring up their own ideas. Occasionally allow them to take over the service. Do it in their own way. We must accommodate everybody. That's the only way we can keep them within this church and get the church going. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, what advice do you have for delegates and synod members who will attend the synod?
My advice is this: be more steadfast. Be more steadfast. This is a time when you need to trust the God whom you claim you serve. That is, to depend more on Him, to allow Him to have His way in your life. Because Scripture says, by strength no man will prevail. With all that is going on in our country, you might want to use all your intelligence, abilities, and everything to get through it, yes. But have you also tried to surrender to God to lead you? Let me remind you that God is still moving in the miraculous. He's still doing miracles. Miracles have not ceased. God is still changing situation. God is still making a way where there is no way. One of the common statements I make nowadays is this. I say to people, if it is written in Scripture, then it is true. You can trust the word of God. You can trust what it says. You can hold on to the promises which the word of God says. So I encourage you to be more steadfast. Don't try and cut corners. And I can also tell you that by the grace of God, Nigeria is still going to evolve. The new Nigeria is still going to evolve. I don't know when or how. I've not seen anything, but I believe in my heart that the new Nigeria is going to evolve. There have been so many people who are prophesying all sorts of things for and against this nation. I can say boldly that it's only the will of God that will be done for Nigeria. Peace will reign in Nigeria. Progress will reign in Nigeria. God will turn things around for this nation. And it shall be well with us. And as far as this synod is concerned, everything will go well by the special grace of God. But contribute your own quota to it, to the work of God. Do whatever God lays in your heart to do. And God will bless you abundantly as you do it. God bless you.